right, let's start with this defense of the Eagles, and we first start with Reggie White. Reggie White, the minister of defense, he was called just a big dude. Could play a D tackle, could play a D end. I'm going to go at D end. He was just a force to be reckoned with out there in Philly, but he was also a force to be reckoned with out there in Green Bay. He was a monster out there in Green Bay. So, and then, his last year in Carolina in 2000. But this is a guy that's had over 1,000 tackles, 2 sacks away from 200, so 2 sacks away from being the tying for the all-time career sack total. Guys had multiple fumble recoveries, multiple fumbles, multiple forced fumbles. Even had 3 interceptions. A guy that's played over 200 games, started 200 games, so multiple things that he's been able to do. 8-time he was an All-Pro, 13-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion. He was also named the Defensive Player of the Year twice in 1997 and 1998, I believe. But yeah, this is a guy that had 21 sacks in a year before. So, in a regular season. So that's phenomenal. He was also part of the all 1980s team, 1990s team. Just overall a force to be reckoned with. You don't want to be near or blocking Reggie White. And that's why I think this offensive line will get accustomed to being just pretty stout on the blocking side, because to be honest, Reggie White is one of the hardest to block. So they're going to know real quick how to block, because Reggie White's going to teach them how to do that with just being Reggie White. Alright, now let's take a look at that D tackle and Jerome Brown. Jerome Brown, unfortunately, he lost his life in 1992 at the age of 27 in a car crash in Florida, unfortunately, in his hometown, actually in Brooksville. But before that short and very tragic end to his career, this is a guy that was a beast and was a threat to just be one of the best D tackles, I would say, in history if he continued the way he was. He started in 1987 was his career, and from 22 to 26 years old, he had 29.5 sacks for a D tackle. That's pretty good, as well as having 10 fumble recoveries, even having 3 interceptions, and playing in over 50 games. This is a guy that his short was very short. His career was very short, but his value in that span was high. 2-time Pro Bowler and 2-time All-Pro, and he was part of the 1987 NFL rookie team. And let's be honest here, him as well as Reggie White together, that's scary. That's a scary combo back-to-back there with each other. That's a scary D-line right now. So, yeah, I do believe this is going to work out pretty well. Then, just so you know, we have a 4-3. We are doing 4 D-line there, and it's with good reason. Let's be real. It is with really good reason. Now, on top of that, Jerome Brown and Reggie White, they also had a third partner in crime out there, which was Clyde Simmons, which played the D-end position, but also was a D-tackle position. I'm going to give it to him at that D-tackle position, of course. He had the ability of, at one point, having his highest total 19 sacks in a year out there in Philly. Let's be honest here. He was phenomenal. Went over to Arizona, Chicago, Jacksonville, and Cincinnati after 8 years in Philly. But Philly is where he made his mark. It's where everyone knew who he was, and that's why he became a 2-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time All-Pro, and just overall fantastic player. He has been a fantastic player. Over 100+ sacks in his career, over 1,000 tackles, multiple fumble recoveries, multiple forced fumbles. Over 200 games that he played. Let's be real here. This is Clyde Simmons. So, yeah, he's going to be a force. He's a big dude. Reggie White with Jerome Brown with Clyde Simmons all together is a force. It's just almost an immovable object in a way. So, yeah. I'm going to close out the DN position, the D-line, with actually a pretty fantastically great D-end that was very underrated during his time. But these three guys already are making a pretty stout defense. And to close out of the D-line, Trent Cole. Trent Cole does not get looked at that much, and it's kind of sad because he's been able to be a force for a while. First of all, he's only 10 sacks away from 100. Probably not going to get it. He's already 34, 35. So I don't think anyone will, see him play much. But this is a guy in Trent Cole that was a 2-time Pro Bowler out there in Philly. Played in Philly his entire career except 2 years in Indianapolis. But his heyday out there, was able to wreak havoc. 90.5 career sacks, about 500 total tackles, multiple forced fumbles, multiple pass deflections. Even had a pick for a touchdown. This is scary to have a lot of guys that are, very capable of dominating a game. 2005 NFL rookie team. All these guys can get to the QB. All these guys can stuff the run. All these guys can just be athletically gifted to really make a tackle. So honestly, this is going to be a pretty scary D-line. And that's where we start with our three linebackers. And we have Seth Joyner as being the first outside linebacker. Seth Joyner will be right there, being a 3-time Pro Bowler, also being a Super Bowl champion with, I believe, the Denver Broncos in 1998, his final year there. A guy he's just been around. He's done everything. To playing almost 200 games, to intercepting 24 times, 2 of them for touchdowns, having multiple forced fumbles, having multiple fumble recoveries, scoring 3 touchdowns out of fumble recoveries, having 50-plus sacks in his career, and having 1,000-plus tackles. Productive linebacker, productive defensive player. You need that, and that's what the Philadelphia Eagles are getting with Seth Joyner. So Seth Joyner will do fantastic things out there in Philly, and it's the start of these 3 linebacker set. All right, now I had a time where I was going to put Jeremiah Trotter as the middle linebacker. I think Jeremiah Trotter deserves it. Excuse me, very sorry. I think Jeremiah Trotter deserves it. The problem is, Chuck Bednarik is an Eagle for life, and he's been a guy that's helped this Eagle team to getting where they want to go, and that's where he was a part of the championship teams. He was a part of, unfortunately not looking at it statistically, but he was also a center and a linebacker. He was 2 ways, and that's impressive. And the fact that, no, he didn't get much records on his tackles, but I know he had hundreds of them, and I know he had a few sacks in there. And the fact that he was able to get 20 interceptions in his career for a middle linebacker and playing over 150 games, and just what I've heard about him. First of all, he's a Hall of Famer, so not putting him on here would be kind of an insult, especially an insult to the Philly fans that love Chuck. And also what he's been able to do. I mean, he's won 2 NFL championships. He's been an 8-time Pro Bowler and a 5-time All-Pro. It's kind of hard not to put this guy on there, and especially what I heard from him, he is a very hard hitter. So that's really what Philly wants. That's what Philly always wants, is hard hitters and strong and fantastically intimidating football players. And Chuck Bednarik is a very intimidating guy. So that's going to be a pretty good linebacking core. And that's exactly where we're going to end with linebackers, with William Thomas, a 2-time Pro Bowler that played for Philadelphia all 9 out of his 11-year career, 2 of them in Oakland. He was kind of past it there, but this is a guy that's made over 800 tackles, 37 career sacks, 12 fumble recoveries, 10 forced fumbles. He's had 6 pass deflections. He's intercepted the ball 27 times, and he's played in 172 career games. Reliable, as well as a playmaker, as well as just a havoc record kind of guy. And I think putting him on the other outside, the opposite of Seth Joyner, it's going to help a lot. So yeah, I like this defense a lot. I think this defense is going to work out well. And now we just got to look at that secondary and special teams. And with that, we got cornerback Eric Allen as the first guy. Now, Eric Allen is a 6-time Pro Bowler and an All-Pro. He played for Oakland for 4 years. He played in New Orleans for 3 years. And he played for Philly in 7 years. And what he was able to do in Philly is pretty phenomenal, having 34 interceptions in 7 years. Whew. Overall career total, 217 he's played, 214 games that he started, 54 career interceptions, 8 of them for touchdowns, 9 pass deflections, 6 forced fumbles, 7 fumble recoveries, 3 sacks, and over 800 tackles. I mean, what else do you want? He's an underrated corner. People don't really know much about Eric Allen, but Eric Allen can get down, man. 1988 NFL All-Rookie team. This is a guy that can cover. This is a guy that people don't understand can actually cover and can be a ball hawk, and that's what you need. You need at least one ball hawk in that secondary. You don't need everyone to be a ball hawk, but you need that one guy, right? You need that one corner that you know he's going to get it done. I think Eric Allen is going to get it done with a lot of receivers, even though a lot of the matchups will be, either really one-sided where one of the receiving cores are just not as great, or it's going to be legendary Hall of Famers that you're going to be like, he might struggle today. But overall, I think he'll hold his own. All right, the second corner is going to be Troy Vincent. Troy Vincent is a 5-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro, as well as a 2002 Walter Payton Man of the Year. This is a guy that's played in Miami, played in Philly for 8 years, played in Buffalo, and a guy that's played in 200 games, 47 career picks, 3 of them for touchdowns. Big reason of the Philly defense in the late 90s and early 2000s that was actually pretty successful. They did get to some NFC Championship games, and they were in the playoffs, and I think Troy Vincent is a big part of what happened because he was able to also deflect passes. He was able to force fumbles. He was able to, get sacks, and he was able to be a really good tackler. A guy that's got over almost 900 tackles in his career as a corner is impressive. So, yeah, I would have to say that both of them at the corner position, I have very strong faith that they will do a great job. All right, let's take a look at the former free safety as of right now is Malcolm Jenkins. He's a part of this team, 30 years old. He's still got a lot in the tank. I know he's got a lot in the tank because he destroyed out there in New Orleans, and, well, he's doing a pretty good job out there in Philly right now. Just a guy that's had multiple games that he's played, 16 interceptions, 6 of them for touchdowns. He's had 79 pass deflections, 11 forced fumbles, over 600 tackles, and he had 6.5 sacks. He had a sack this year, which was pretty nice. But this is Malcolm Jenkins we're talking about. This is the guy that plays with, just like B-Doc, they play with fire, they play with energy, they play with everything they can, and they leave it out there in the football field. And I got to put him at the free safety. He's more of a free safety type player. He's more of a, he wants to be all around. He wants to make some plays. B-Doc for sure is a free safety quality player, but strong safety is more of his nature and what I believe and what he belongs right now. Either or, they're going to be safeties in the defense, and these are 2 of the best, and I do believe that having this secondary in line, to be honest, this is a very bold statement, but I do believe that there's going to be little to no touchdowns every time you guys play this team, because defensively they're going to make sure that every time you want to pass it, well, you're going to regret passing the ball because that receiver is going to get hit. It's going to get hit hard, and it's going to be physical. So, all right. So, I had I didn't know whether to put Brian Dawkins at that strong safety, free safety position. But now that I know what I want, I think I'm going to put him at strong safety because, first of all, he's an intimidator. He's something, man. He's a force to be reckoned with. But, like I said, he's always been that free safety type. He's always just been a fantastic safety in general. I'm going to put him at strong safety just because he's just got that stature of him, and he's also been able to hit pretty well. He's a pretty good tackler. He's a pretty good, just overall everything. And he's a Hall of Fame finalist. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. If he doesn't be in the Hall of Fame this year, I'm going to be very disappointed. Of course, it's always next year, but B-Doc deserves it, man. B-Doc, Weapon X, whatever you want to call him, he was scary. He was like running out of the tunnel, like doing anything to intimidate you, right? And this guy's not like 6'10", right? No, but the way he played almost was like he was 6'10". Like he hit you hard, and he wanted to make sure that he gave you that message of, hey, we're the Philadelphia Eagles, we're here to play, and we're not playing. And that's what I love about B-Doc, is how he played every play 110%. I love players that do that. So Brian Dawkins is a 9-time Pro Bowler and a 4-time All-Pro. I go on and on. 1,000+ tackles, 26 sacks. He's had 37 interceptions, 2 of them for touchdowns. He's had multiple pass deflections, multiple forced fumbles. He's a havoc wrecker. He literally will ruin your day. He will literally ruin your day. And I know, he's part of the 1996 NFL rookie team. He's been a part of the All-Decade team in the 2000s. I know right now, if he had the opportunity of being in that Super Bowl right now, he would love nothing than to hit Tom Brady more than anything in the world. I know that because he's a competitor. So Brian Dawkins at that strong safety position, that's going to be a lock. I'm going to put on a strong safety position, and I think this defense is going to excel. All right, now the kicker of this team is going to be David Akers. He's a long-time kicker, a 6-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time All-Pro, playing for the Washington Redskins, playing for the Detroit Lions, playing for the 49ers for 2 years. Excuse me, I'm very sorry. And playing for the Philadelphia Eagles for 12 years. And what did I get is that he was pretty much the most accurate guy that they had in their history. A guy that's had 386 career field goal makes, which is a lot, which is a real lot. And he had an 80.9 field goal percentage, as well as a 98.8 extra point percentage. What can I tell you other than that? He's the best at what he can do. And, a part of the All-2000s team. Again, multiple All-Pros, multiple Pro Bowls. I believe in David Akers. I think David Akers will succeed and do well, just like he has in his career there in Philly. And, I think they're going to do fine. All right. And then how about the punter? It's Jeff Eagles. He's been around a lot. He's been around everywhere, mostly for being a New York Giant for 7 years. And it was kind of unpopular of me to not put him as a Giant. I didn't. I'm putting him as an Eagle, 2-time Pro Bowler and a Super Bowl champ, and a guy that played in Philly in the early 90s, and a guy that did his thing, did his thing. Unfortunately, 3 blocked punts in 4 years, but overall in his career, 71,211 punt yards. 12 times getting blocked in his career that lasted about, I would have to say, like 19 years, and an overall 41.6 average punt. It's just crazy. It's crazy. With having his 1988 NFL rookie team. Got to a couple Pro Bowls, and he is one of the best punters of all time, and he's going to be a hell of a good punter for Philly. So, without Jeff Eagles on any of these teams, I would have been pretty disappointed in myself. So I had to put him on there on the Philly team. Now the return man, it's pretty simple. It's DeSean Jackson. If you want a returner, you need DeSean Jackson. He's like I talked to him in the video in the offensive. He was a great weapon in terms of receiving the ball. Not the best receiver of all time, but not bad. But you look at what he's done majorly is really he's done some memorable plays from the standpoint of kick returns or punt returns. A guy that had over 1,200 punt return yards so far in his career, 4 of them for touchdowns. His longest one was 85 yards. He also had a kick return, 5 of them for 37 yards. In the playoffs, he was able to kind of be stopped on it. Punt return yards, 11 of them for 174 yards, average of 15.8 per punt. But overall, this is a guy that's speed. It's a quick guy. He's a speedster. And I've said it before, 2008 NFL rookie team, 3-time Pro Bowl. Overall, it's what you want. To be honest with you, it's what you want. DeSean Jackson is what you want in terms of speed, quickness. You need that in a return guy. He's going to be that. So, all in all, it should work out well for them. And last but not least, the coach is going to be Andy Reid. He's going to be the Philadelphia coach. I mean, let's be honest here. If Doug wins this year, Doug Peterson, right now the coach of the Eagles, if he continues to have his stride and he wins the Super Bowl this year, as well as maybe one more or so, he's going to be the best coach of all time. Like there's no question where I would put him and where I'd put everyone else. I think Andy Reid right now is just because he's been with the team the longest, and he's led them to some good places. He's led them to the playoffs numerous times. His play calling is questionable. His coaching at times is questionable in games. So that's the only problem. And it's the same thing. He's done the same exact thing out there in Kansas City. So, but overall though, I would have to say, not a bad coach. Just not a bad dude. Just unfortunately, kind of makes some bonehead decisions at the wrong time. But I mean, you're looking at what he's done for Philadelphia ever since entering there in 2001, being the head coach, even being a GM for a while, being executive VP of football operations. He had a lot of responsibility, right? But this is Andy Reid we're talking about, being 11-5, his first year. And what happened there? Well, they lost in the conference title game in 2001. Like, come on, now let's be honest here. Like, the fact that he led them all the way to that, that last game before the Super Bowl in his first year. He did it again in 2002, led them to the conference title, lost. 2003 they lost in the conference championship again. 2004 they went to the Super Bowl, lost in the Super Bowl. But you're looking at getting to the conference title game 4 consecutive years in his 4 first years as coaching, and then had a down year at 6-10. 2006 they went back to the playoffs, lost in the divisional round. 2007 didn't make it. 2008 lost in the conference championship game again, and then 09 and 10 they lost in the wild card. And then after that, the 2 years 11 and 12, and then he left and he went to Kansas City. But this is, or I believe he got fired. But this is a guy that has a resume of really, in total, when you look at it, no Super Bowls, yes, but was able to lead him to the playoffs quite a large amount of time. So, as of right now, his success is the reason he's going to be the coach. But Doug Peterson makes an impact more and more through the years. I could definitely see him replacing Andy Reid, though.